Okay, welcome everyone to the Monday webinar. Very excited for this week of trading. The more I have a nice restful weekend, and by restful I mean I'm totally exhausted from tons of physical activity, the more ready I am to trade on Mondays. So I golfed this weekend, I surfed in some crazy waves that exhausted me to death, I jogged a little bit, I played with the family. I'm totally exhausted, and that makes for a super awesome Monday. I hate when I feel like I just didn't exert any energy over the weekend, and so I definitely did this weekend, so it makes me super excited about getting back to the charts this week. Okay, as always, it's a good prep for Disneyland. Little reminder, we'd love to see some of you guys with us that are not currently members to the Day Traders FX live trading group. We have so much stuff to do this week. Let me go back there real quick. If you just click on Start Now, you'll get to that link right there, and that'll show you some of the membership details and so on. You can get a 5-day free trial. Great time to start at the beginning of the week, and we'd love to have you. Okay, let's get right down to the nitty-gritty. We have a lot of news this week. U.S. news, UK news, Euro news, we have a little bit of Canadian news, and so on, but we do have some pretty interesting ones. So Tuesday morning, we'll have our live session Tuesday morning. We have CPI in the U.S., building, housing starts, building permits. We have more news out of Australia. That's Tuesday. Wednesday, Wednesday is going to be pretty big. We should see some good movement on the pound pairs, and we're definitely going to talk about that. But remember, we have the bank rate votes and so on. And there's a bunch of talk again, which is why we've seen a big run up on these pound pairs. There's a bunch of talk about rates again from Carney and the Bank of England. So that's going to be a big deal. And then we have some FOMC meeting minutes on Wednesday. And then Thursday, retail sales for the UK, a favorite of mine. Some more Euro and US news. And then Friday, we have this whole Jackson Hole mumbo-jumbo going on. So Draghi and Yellen will be speaking later in the morning on Friday. So that should be interesting, along with retail sales for Canada and so on. Okay. So I just figured I'd make a little list here real quick. Remember, you guys can always contact me on the Twitter at DayTradersFX for questions, comments, charts, things that you're looking at throughout the week. Send me a message on DayTradersFX on Twitter, and let's chat about it. Let's see what you're looking at. Okay, so euro dollar is looking super interesting. Here's just a quick note to remind me, and maybe it's something to remind you of. You guys can have a little snapshot of this. Favorite pairs this week: euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar CAD, Aussie New Zealand, euro pound, pound Swiss franc, New Zealand dollar. And I think we should be able to get trades out of more than half of these pairs this week, and potentially all of them, but at least 3 or 4 of them we should be able to get some trades out of, and I think we have 7 here that I'm really excited about this week. So euro dollar, if short first, definitely looking to get long ASAP. Now let's have a little look at why that is. Okay, so here's the euro dollar, and here's what I'm looking at. Right now this 133.30 is holding super well. And why is that interesting? Why do we care about 133.30? It's a low of the last several months, and anytime we have that, that's always interesting to look at. And you can see we've also had some pretty big price rejection off around that 133.30/13300 area going back into November of last year. But it hasn't been tested much in between times. So it looks like it's holding pretty well, and that's excellent. But if it does break, if this monthly low here breaks, which is 133.33, I'm super excited about getting short and just trading this thing down a bit. I think we're going to have a nice little run. If it does go short, though, and we're able to get into this on the breakout down and just trade that down a little bit, I'm getting super excited about getting long right afterwards, because currently the 4-hour chart is 152 bars out, and that's pretty good. So we may even get an opportunity to just buy the dip. I'm going to see how it goes. If we get another candle kind of bumping and testing and holding that once again, then I might buy it. I might buy euro dollar against 133.33. But if it breaks it, we'll jump into it, we'll trade it down, and then we'll absolutely be looking to get long euro dollar going into this week as soon as possible. But that's a pretty important level. So I'd like to see, a test of that and a nice bounce off, and then I would happily get long. Otherwise, a test and a break gets us short, and then we get really excited about getting long and trading it back up into 134 65, 135, 100. It's going to be a great trade. So either way, we've got some great opportunities to trade on this euro dollar. But a lot of it's going to be contingent upon what happens right here. So right now we have a pending order that pertains to this level, and that's in the members area, and that is still valid. But depending on how that kind of plays out over the next couple of days, we may end up buying the dip as opposed to selling the break if it doesn't break. And again, that's because of this 4-hour chart. 4-hour chart's looking great. But it's not crazy overextended on the 4-hour chart, so it could definitely go a bit more before it starts coming back. So that is euro dollar. Pound dollar, very interesting as well. I've talked a lot about the pound dollar. Likely short coming, followed by a long entry daily head and shoulders pattern. So what does that all mean? Pound dollar is doing some of this activity right here. All these pound pairs made a little break up, and they left these gaps in the charts. This one's only about 20 pips on the pound dollar. But I think if we start breaking this weekly low, this is about 167.10 or so. If it breaks that, I think we're probably going to see some sort of double bottom or something on this pound dollar, which could take us down into this low right here, which is around 166, 50, 60 area. So there could potentially be a little 50 pip trade there. I'm not going to take it too much further. I don't think it's going to go too much further down immediately, and so I'm more excited about buying pound dollar than shorting it. If it breaks that, great. Maybe we'll get 50 pips out of it, but buying the dip is what I think is way better. So I want to see this gap get filled, and I want to see this 16700, even below 16700 a little bit, get tested again, and then we're going to buy the heck out of this thing and trade it right back on up. Now, one of the reasons of that is 4-hour chart looks good. We're about 110 bars out on 4-hour chart from the 200 moving average. We've got this wicked, crazy trend line, too, that has been tested perfectly at least 3 times now. And that goes all the way back to our high up here of 171.90. And now it's starting to drop, and that break of that trend line will be pretty interesting as we kind of continue up there. We have a bunch of missed weekly pivots. We have one at 171.100. We have one at about 170. We have some monthly pivots, some daily pivots. We have all kinds of pivots up there that I'm excited about testing. But here's the big thing that I'm looking at, and I sent a free video out about this last week. We have a huge head and shoulders pattern potentially in the works here on this pound dollar. So 167.00, give or take about 50 pips. Remember, we're talking about a big daily chart here. 16700 area is making for a very nice neckline. We have a nice little shoulder right here, a nice big head right there, and it looks like we're bouncing off that neckline pretty well to trade this thing back up. Probably into some of these monthly pivots and some of these levels up here. We have some missed daily and monthly pivots up around 170. I could see that being a pretty easy target for this pound dollar. And so we're gonna, so again, we're looking to get long against these levels right here and trade back up towards this 200 moving average on the 4-hour chart, and then even beyond that. Again, I'd like to see this gap get filled and maybe a little potential double bottom first, and then I'm going to be looking at major longs pound dollar from there and looking for this big right shoulder to potentially play out and trade this pound dollar up into 170. So I'm pretty excited about that. Again, that goes in line with this nice head and shoulders pattern we have on the daily chart. So that's pound dollar. I'm just kind of buzzing through these, so stop me, and we'll have a few moments for some questions afterwards, but stop me as we go if I'm missing any details. Dollar CAD, if long first, then a big short is coming. And so, of course, we never know what's going to happen, but if this dollar CAD goes long, which I would love to see it happen, we have this nice little trend line that we've been testing. It's looking pretty good. If this thing runs up and gives us some sort of double top or a move into 109, or excuse me, about 110, even a little bit above 110, then I'm super excited about starting to look for shorts from there. Because we have this great looking 4-hour chart that's over 100. We're just about 105 bars out on the 4-hour chart, and if this thing can rally and head up just a little bit, that's going to be super excellent to give us those shorts up around that 110 area on dollar CAD. From this run right here, one of the things I love to look at is I guess we go back to the daily chart. The most recent low to the most recent high, we've crossed the 23% fib and it's starting to pull back again. And we know that that 38% fib has a super excellent chance of getting hit. So if that gets, if this continues to pull back up and makes its way up into some of these missed pivots up here, then there's going to be so many reasons to get short dollar CAD, about 100 pips higher than where it currently is, and it should be super exciting. Remember, this is kind of the weekly watch list. This could happen later in the week. It could happen in the next couple of days. But that would be a great trade. So if that runs up, I'm super duper excited about getting short at that higher price. But for the moment, dollar CAD is kind of bumping around, so we're going to let this play out. There's a little short-term trend line that could break, could give us a nice little run, and run down into that 38% fib, which is 108, about 108.50. And the 200 moving average, and that could happen as well. But that's not really a big enough trade to make my radar. You know, there's 30 or 40 pips in there, and I don't really, I'm not really looking at that. But if we do get that break up, if we start getting above 10900, then the dollar CAD's going to start getting really interesting to short. Okay, Aussie New Zealand is looking great. Looking for a break and a move into the monthly pivot, which is around 108.70. So Aussie New Zealand's doing this whole business right here. It's been super consolidated, and it's just been bouncing around for weeks now. So going back into later July, latter part of July, all the way until now, for a whole month and change, it's just been totally sideways. But in that sideways movement, it has created a pretty interesting little space here on this 4-hour chart. So we're now 142 bars out on the 4-hour chart, and it looks like it might be ready for that move down. I'm shooting for the monthly pivot. I think we're going to get to that monthly pivot. I think there's a really good chance of it. Monthly pivot's around 108.70, and I think there's a great opportunity of that. Now, what I would look for on Aussie New Zealand here is simply if it got back up into these highs here, this 110.50. That would be a great area to start looking for shorts. If it breaks that high, it's already got a nice double top there. If it breaks that high, then I'm getting really excited to short Aussie New Zealand. So the higher it goes, the more interesting our trade gets. But if it just starts running down, then there's going to be a simple trend line break here. We're going to let this thing kind of play out, and there will be a nice little trend line break. We'll take it, we'll trade it down probably 100 pips, and call it good. So that's going to be a trade we will be watching for this week. So that one's looking pretty fun and fantastic. Euro pound, we just closed this euro pound for about 75 to 85 pips profit, and we're definitely looking to get back into this thing as soon as possible. The euro pound, like all the pound pairs, left a nice little gap right here, or many of the pound pairs anyways, not all of them. Left a nice little gap here. I still think we have a really great opportunity for this euro pound to work its way up into at least 80.75. I think 80.75 is like a minimal target. And so if we can get back up above about 79.95 area, then I think this euro pound's probably going to start rallying and start moving, and we're going to be able to jump into some trades and get some pips. So look for the 79.95, 80/80 area. And let's start looking for entries there with stops below these pretty tight lows here. Let's start looking for entries there and see if we can trade this thing up into 80.75 area, and it will be super interesting and super fantastic. So I'm looking for that. Since we closed out and we took some pretty nice profit on it, but I'm out of it, and I will get back into it if it breaks above this 79.95/80 level. But I just wanted to make sure it didn't just make a break and then eat up more of our profit, getting below that 79.80 spot. So looking great. I love this euro pound. I think it's going to move up a little bit more before it starts coming back down more. So we'll jump back into that thing. We'll be ready for it. Pound Swiss franc is kind of an interesting little setup. We've been watching pound Swiss franc. It's doing a bunch of stuff. The one thing that I'm a little bit curious about on this pound Swiss franc is this gap right here. These gaps like to get filled. They don't always get filled immediately, but they definitely can. And so we've got to be pretty aware of that. But I like this pound Swiss franc because I think a couple of things could pretty easily happen here. Number one, we had this nice rising wedge breakout. and that broke out and that ran pretty nicely, but it kind of did a little bit of what we expected, which was it came right down to that 38% fib, and then it bounced and headed right back up again. It didn't reach the 200 moving average, but then again, it's not super extended on this daily chart. It's still only 108 bars away, and 200 moving averages on daily charts can go hundreds and hundreds of bars. So it could be making a nice run up to make another attempt at that. So we're going to keep our eye on this euro pound. If it decides it's going to take out that 200 moving average on the daily chart and fill this gap, then we'll look for a simple trend line break here and get into that short. Fill this gap and trade to that 200 moving average, which sits currently at just about 150 on the dot. So I think hitting 150 is a super realistic possibility for this euro pound. So let's be ready for that to potentially happen. And we'll just kind of judge it on a day-by-day basis and see if we can get in and do something there. Okay, last but not least, New Zealand dollar is looking as very interesting as the pound dollar. I have the pound dollar in red because that fantastic big daily head and shoulders pattern. And I also have the New Zealand dollar in red because of, again, a big fantastic daily head and shoulders pattern and what I think is going to be a superb trade coming up. Look at this New Zealand dollar. It's come off some pretty significant highs, definitely some major highs up here. But it's creating this massive head and shoulders pattern. You can see this on the daily chart. We have a big left shoulder, comes down, bounces, big head right there, comes down, bounces just about perfectly on that 8400, and it's heading back up again. So what I would like to do here is I would like to take trades that reflect the movement to create that right shoulder, and I think we're going to get there. So this 8400 area is looking pretty good. You can see we're about 65 pips or so off of that. So if this runs down just a little bit and can hold that 8400, it makes a great trade for a couple of reasons. Number one, this is just a textbook head and shoulders pattern on this daily chart. You can see it on the weekly as well, very nicely. Head, shoulder, head, and then hopefully a bounce for another shoulder. And the other thing is the 4-hour chart's looking pretty excellent. Right now we're about 112 bars out on the 4-hour chart. So if this comes down and can hold this 8400, we're absolutely getting long New Zealand dollar, and we're going to trade this thing up into 8600, minimum. So we should have a 200 pip run on this one. It only needs to drop 50 or 60 pips in the next couple of days to make that a great trade. And I think that's super possible. So I'm looking for that drop, I'm looking for that level to hold, and then we're trading the heck out of this thing right back on up to 8600 or so. So I think those are some fantastic levels. I think we have some really great setups. Those are kind of the only ones I'm looking at right now. Our pound yen got stopped out at +1, which is a major bummer. We got in here at 171.30. And you can see that at one point this was 85 pips in profit. We locked in, and then it opened up and just rallied like crazy and stopped us out at +1. So that's okay. We'll get back into this thing. We still have an untested 200 moving average that's going to get touched very, sooner than later. And we're going to watch some trend lines. We're going to watch some resistance levels. We're going to watch some reversal candles and see if we can get back into this pound yen short. But for the most part, these are the most interesting trades, I think, for me this week. Euro dollar, pound dollar, dollar CAD, Aussie New Zealand, euro pound, pound Swiss franc, New Zealand dollar. Again, we should get at least 4 entries this week out of these 7, and maybe all 7. And these are all going to have very minimum 100 pip profit targets on them. So we potentially could get into trades worth 400 to 500 pips this week alone. So it should be an exciting, fantastic week, and I'm looking forward to it. So I will get this recording posted for everyone, and I'll take a couple of questions real quick on any pairs that I might have missed or any details there. And thanks a million for joining us today.